Tonight, we'll wander through the whole arc of Greek mythology, tracing gods, heroes, and mortals whose tales shaped the imagination of the Western world. Before we begin, make yourself comfortable. If you enjoy these late-night journeys, consider subscribing. And if you'd like, leave a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a soft fan for that steady hum, and let's step into the myths of Greece. You sink back into the quiet, letting your breath slow. The room around you fades until all that remains is darkness. Not the ordinary darkness of night, but something heavier, older. A silence that stretches on without end. You are floating in it now. No stars, no sky, no earth beneath your feet. Only the endless void. This is chaos. Not chaos as you know it, with noise and disorder, but something far stranger. A yawning gap, a hollow nothingness, wide and deep. You drift there, weightless, with no up or down, no beginning or end. It feels like being caught between breaths, like the world itself hasn't yet decided whether to exist. And then, softly, something stirs. The void ripples as if a pebble has been dropped into a lake of nothing. From that ripple comes shadow. She is Nyx, the night. You see her stretch across the emptiness, her form like a great cloak scattered with unseen stars. She moves slowly, wrapping the void in silence, bringing with her a hush deeper than sleep. From her presence, you sense others beginning to take shape. Out of the blankness, a new form rises, Gaia, the earth. You feel her before you see her, solid, vast, steady beneath your drifting body. Where once there was only emptiness, now there is ground. Rich soil. The promise of hills and valleys, of mountains not yet raised. Her breath feels like warm wind rising from the deep places of the world. She is patient, enduring, carrying the weight of everything to come. Around her, the void shifts again. Erebus appears, darkness that lingers in hidden corners. Not the wide sweep of night, but the dense shadows where no light will ever reach. He slips silently alongside Nyx, inseparable, as though shadow and night had always known each other. As you drift further, you sense Tartarus forming far below. He is not a place yet, but a presence. Heavy, vast. A pit beneath all pits. You feel him opening under your feet, not threatening but inevitable, as if the universe itself must have a bottom. A place where things will be cast down far from the living sky. And then, in contrast, light blossoms. It is Eros, the force of desire, of attraction, not yet love as mortals will know it, but the simple pull that draws things together. His glow is not harsh but soft, like the first warmth of dawn touching the skin. Without him, the gods and the earth would remain separate, drifting, unjoined. With him, everything begins to lean toward union. You linger in this new cosmos, watching as Nyx and Erebus weave together, giving birth to ether, the bright air, the pure breath that will one day fill the lungs of gods and mortals. Alongside him comes Hemera, the day, glowing softly, pushing gently against the deep cloak of her mother. Night and day begin their endless dance, one flowing into the other, never still for long. Gaia, meanwhile, does not rest. From her body springs Uranus, the sky. You look up, and there he is, vast and glittering, arching over her. He is not yet blue or golden, but endless, studded with the promise of stars. When he stretches himself across her, you feel the first embrace of earth and sky, the first union. It is awkward and raw, but it is creation. From their meeting, more will come. Already you can feel them stirring. The Titans, Kronos, Rhea, Hyperion, Theia, Oceanus, and the countless others, shadows of greatness still forming in the dark. Their presence is heavy, large, not yet fixed in shape, but unmistakably powerful. As you wander in this strange beginning, you notice how everything grows slowly, naturally, as if the cosmos is unfolding like a seed. There are no battles yet, no rivalries, only the steady emergence of forces that must exist. Night and day, earth and sky, desire and shadow. You sense that conflict will come later, but for now, creation is quiet, inevitable, like breath filling a chest. Far away, the edges of Gaia's body ripple. From her soil and stone, she births mountains, their peaks jagged and silent, scraping against the belly of Uranus above. Rivers stir, flowing from unseen springs, their paths winding across her skin. Deep within her womb, she brings forth Pontus, the sea. You hear his voice, a low, endless murmur, rolling like waves against cliffs not yet raised. The sea spreads outward, covering hollows and cracks, filling the spaces between earth and sky. Now the world feels fuller, less empty. The void is no longer blank, but layered. Sky above, earth beneath, sea between, and Tartarus yawning deep below. It is a fragile balance, still newborn, but it hums with potential. You breathe it in, the damp scent of soil, the salt of seas, the cool hush of night. You watch as Nyx glides across the new heavens, laying down stars like seeds. Their light is faint, but they glitter in her hair, trailing behind her in long arcs. Erebus lingers at the edges, filling valleys and caves with shadow. Hemera, the day, follows after, pushing the darkness back, softening the world with pale light. And still, Eros drifts between them, unseen yet present, coaxing sky to earth, day to night, sea to shore. You realize that without him all would remain separate, untouched. But with him they lean together, connect, and give rise to something new. In the quiet you almost forget yourself. You are not a mortal anymore, not someone who eats, or sleeps, or worries. You are a witness, floating at the dawn of time, watching the first shapes of the cosmos. The air is still cool, the seas are calm, the sky untroubled. You feel the weight of stillness, the slow blooming of inevitability. For now the gods do not quarrel, the titans do not yet scheme, heroes are not yet born. There is only the vast, solemn unfolding of existence, a rhythm steady as a heartbeat. Night passes into day, day into night. Earth cradles the seas, the sky curves overhead like a protective arch. Desire hums softly, unseen, binding everything together. And you, quiet, small, unseen, drift at the center of it, a traveler at the beginning of everything. You can almost hear the cosmos breathe. You wake slowly, as if the ground itself is stirring beneath you. The vast silence of chaos has shifted. Now the world feels fuller, more solid. Gaia, the earth, is no longer just a vast body of soil and stone. She is alive, heavy with children. You can feel them moving in her, forces too great to be hidden forever. When they emerge, it is not gentle. You sense it like mountains rising in a single breath. The Titans, giants of impossible scale, their presence makes the ground shiver. They are not like the small gods of river or shadow who pass lightly across the edges of the world. These beings are weight itself, power made flesh. You watch Kronos first. Tall, sharp-eyed, with a presence that feels like time itself grinding forward, slow but unstoppable. He does not rush, yet everything bends to his pace. His gaze is cool, calculating, already fixed on the future, though the world has barely begun. Around him, the air is tense, as though the cosmos knows he will not simply live, but rule. Near him stands Rhea, softer in her movements but no less powerful. You feel her presence like the steady rhythm of seasons, the cycle of growth and harvest. Where Kronos is inevitability, Rhea is renewal, turning and turning, a wheel that never stops. Her gaze is kinder, though heavy with knowledge, as if she already carries the burden of what is to come. Around them, the other Titans rise in their enormity. Hyperion, the shining one, his body glowing like the first dawns, light streaming from his form. Beside him is Theia, his radiant counterpart, the glimmer of brilliance that will one day touch every jewel and every star. Caius and Phoebe appear, the Titan of intellect and the Titaness of prophecy, their voices low but endless, echoing like riddles spoken across valleys. Oceanus swells at the edges, his body rolling and endless, his children already forming as rivers and streams that lace across Gaia's skin. Tethys, his partner, gentle yet vast, follows in his wake, the quiet womb of every spring. You stand among them in awe. They do not speak in words the way mortals will one day do. Their language is older, deeper, felt in the ground, carried in the air. When Oceanus stirs, you hear it as the crash of waves. When Hyperion looks your way, it is as though your skin warms in sunlight. These are forces more than people, and yet they are also kin. Children of Gaia, born from the embrace of earth and sky. And there is Uranus, the sky, stretched wide above. His body is endless, glittering, heavy with stars. He looks down on the children of Gaia, not with warmth, but with suspicion. Already you sense his fear. They are too many, too powerful, too hungry for space. He presses close to Gaia, unwilling to release them. And in that closeness there is strain. You feel it beneath your feet, a tension rising between earth and sky, mother and father. The Titans, though mighty, live under that weight. Their father keeps them bound, trapped, smothered by his endless vault. They grow restless, their size too great for shadows, their power too vast to be hidden. You feel their unease like a low hum that never ends. Gaia suffers most. You can almost hear her breath quicken, her strength taxed by bearing so many children pressed down upon her. She whispers in the silence, a plea not spoken aloud, but sent through every stone and root. She needs relief. A way to push back against the weight of Uranus, to let her children rise freely. It is Kronos who listens. He alone steps forward, his presence sharp, his will already hardened. You feel his decision like a blade cutting through the air. He will not endure the smothering of his father. His siblings tremble at the thought, for Uranus is vast, older than they are, the very sky above them. But Kronos does not waver. He waits for the moment Gaia chooses, and when she does, she gives him the weapon that will change everything. From her body, she shapes a sickle of stone, jagged, cold, honed to a cruel edge. You see her lift it into the hands of her son. The rock still smells of earth, still hums with her power. Kronos takes it without hesitation, his fingers close tight, and in that gesture the world itself seems to hold its breath. Night falls, Nyx spreading her cloak across the sky. Uranus comes close, as he always does, pressing down upon Gaia, unwilling to let his children breathe. But this time, the waiting silence breaks. Kronos rises, sickle in hand, and strikes. You do not see it as a quick blow, but as a slow, deliberate rending. The sound is not a cry, but the tearing of heaven itself. Blood falls from the wound, thick and heavy, soaking into the soil. It drips into the sea, hissing as it touches the waves, From those drops, new beings stir, the Furies, wild and relentless, the giants, towering and fierce, and from the foam upon the sea, something yet unnamed, something that glows faintly in the shadows. Uranus recoils, his endless form shattering. He does not die, not truly, but he retreats, broken and cast far. The sky still stretches overhead, but his power has waned. He will never again press so heavily on Gaia. The Titans are free now, the air feels lighter, the world feels open for the first time. Kronos stands at the center, the sickle dripping in his hand, his siblings silent around him. Their fear is gone, replaced by something sharper, recognition. He has done what none dared. He has overthrown their father. By right of blood and by strength of will, he is now their leader. The age of Uranus has ended. The age of Kronos begins. You drift through this new order, watching as the Titans spread their rule. Hyperion's light stretches wider, touching the seas and the mountains. Oceanus coils himself around the edges of the earth, his waters vast and endless. Coeus and Phoebe whisper secrets to the winds, the first prophecies echoing in the silence. Rhea stands beside Kronos, her presence steady, her gaze filled with quiet foreboding, as if she already knows that cycles never end, that what has happened once will happen again. For now, though, the Titans reign. Their voices fill the air like thunder, their bodies stride across the newborn world. You walk among them, a speck in their shadow, feeling the weight of their power and the strangeness of their lives. They are not yet the Olympians who will come later, not gods of familiar form, but beings of raw force, the bones and sinews of the cosmos itself. And though peace reigns for a moment, you sense the unease beneath it. For Kronos, sharp-eyed, never stops glancing at the horizon. He knows what he has done. He knows that children can rise against their fathers. And in his heart, fear is already blooming. The age of Titans is young, but already the seeds of its end have been sown. You feel the stillness before it begins, like the pause before thunder splits the sky. The Titans have reigned long under Kronos, their power stretching across land and sea, yet unease curls through every corner of the cosmos. Kronos, sharp and suspicious, lives in fear of what he has already done, knowing that children overthrow fathers, just as he struck against Uranus. That fear becomes action. One by one his children are born, and one by one he swallows them whole. You drift through the shadows of his hall and see it unfold. Hestia swallowed. Demeter swallowed. Hera swallowed. The cries of newborns vanish into the dark of his stomach, their lives stifled before they can breathe freely. Rhea, their mother, stands stricken but silent, her sorrow buried beneath Kronos' heavy rule. And yet, in that silence, she plans. You stand near her when the sixth child comes. She does not hand this one over. Instead, in the stillness of night, she hides the infant far away. She gives Kronos a stone wrapped in cloth, and he devours it without question, never knowing the difference. The child, small, helpless, but heavy with destiny, is carried to a cave in Crete. There you hear the rush of hidden rivers, the low hum of nymphs rocking him in secret. His name is Zeus. Years pass like whispers. Zeus grows hidden yet strong. You watch him train in silence, guided by the wisdom of Gaia and the whispering voices of ancestors who know what must come. His eyes gleam like storms, his movements strike like lightning. When he is ready, he does not wait. He rises against his father with a cunning hand, tricking Kronos into drinking a potion that forces him to disgorge the children he swallowed. One by one, the gods spill forth, no longer infants but fully grown, ready for war. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades and Poseidon, 5 voices that swell into a chorus alongside their youngest brother. The stillness ends. The Titanomachy begins. You stand in the middle of a world tearing itself apart. Mountains split as the Titans march, their bodies towering like living peaks, their steps sending quakes across valleys. Kronos leads them, his sickle gleaming, his voice carrying over the battlefield like the grinding of stone. Around him, the elder Titans rally, Hyperion burning with light, Oceanus swelling with unending waves, Iapetus's fury sharp as iron. Their strength is enormous, the very bones of creation fighting to keep their hold. Across from them stand the Olympians. Smaller in size, yes, but not weaker. Zeus raises his arm and lightning cracks open the heavens, blinding and fierce. Poseidon strikes the ground and seas roar upward, walls of water surging against Titan flesh. Hades calls forth shadows, the underworld opening at his feet, and the dead seem to lean in, watching. Hera, Demeter, Hestia. Each adds their force, steady and unyielding. The war lasts not days, not years, but 10 full years of endless clash. You drift through it as though floating through a storm that never clears. Each strike shakes the earth, each cry echoes into the void. Fire against stone, wave against mountain, light against shadow. Neither side yields, their rage boundless, their strength nearly equal. But the Olympians are not alone. You see Zeus descend into the deepest prisons of Tartarus, the place where Uranus once cast away his monstrous children. There, chained in darkness, writhe the Cyclopes and the Hecatonchires. Their cries shake the caverns, their fury long stifled. Zeus frees them one by one, and in gratitude they gift him weapons no Titan can withstand. The Cyclopes forge thunderbolts crackling with raw energy impossible to resist. To Poseidon they grant the trident, its 3 prongs sharp enough to split oceans. To Hades they give the helmet of invisibility, shadows folding around him like a cloak. And the Hecatonchires, with their 100 hands, rise alongside them, hurling boulders as though they are pebbles, shaking the world with every strike. You watch as the tide turns. No longer do the Titans stride with unchecked force. Zeus hurls his thunderbolts, and each one explodes like a star, searing the ground. Poseidon's trident crashes into the earth, splitting mountains into fragments, sending rivers racing into new courses. Hades vanishes from sight, reappearing in the midst of Titan ranks, striking unseen and vanishing again. The sky is black with smoke, the earth cracked and bleeding, the seas roaring with storms. You feel it all in your body as though you too are being torn apart by the weight of their fury. The Titans scream in rage, their power immense, but slowly, step by step, they are driven back. At last, Kronos stands alone against his son. You feel the air hold still, the cosmos itself waiting. The sickle gleams in Kronos' hands, sharp and heavy with the memory of what he once did to his father. But Zeus does not falter. He lifts his thunderbolt, and with a roar that shakes the very bones of the world, he strikes. The clash is blinding. For a moment, you see nothing but light. When your vision clears, Kronos lies broken, his sickle cast away, his reign ended. The war is over. The Titans are bound. One by one, Zeus and his siblings chain them and cast them deep into Tartarus, guarded forever by the Hecatonchires. Their cries fade into the distance, muffled by stone and darkness. The earth sighs in relief. The skies brighten. Seas grow calm once more. The long struggle is done. You drift now through a quieter world. The Olympians stand victorious, their faces lit by firelight, their bodies weary but unbroken. They have reshaped the cosmos, torn it from the grip of the Titans and claimed it as their own. Zeus, with storms still in his eyes, takes the throne of the heavens. Poseidon descends to the seas, his trident gleaming. Hades slips into the underworld, shadows parting to welcome him. The sisters, too, claim their realms. Hera as queen, Demeter as nourisher, Hestia as keeper of the hearth. The world has changed. A new order has begun. The age of the Olympians rises from the ashes of war, and as you drift deeper into this vision, the sounds of battle fade, replaced by the hush of waves, the whisper of leaves, the soft hum of fire. The Titanomachy is done, yet its echoes will never fade completely, for every victory carries the memory of the struggle that shaped it. You drift upward, carried on soft winds that smell faintly of rain. The clash of the Titanomachy is gone, the thunder of war faded into memory. What remains is quiet, a silence wide enough to hold beginnings. Far below, the earth lies scarred but steady, ridges of broken stone still glowing where lightning fell, rivers newly carved by Poseidon's hand, shadows lingering in the deep places where Hades walked unseen. Yet above all this, higher than the mountain peaks and higher still than the rolling clouds, a new home is being built. You rise until your feet touch the slopes of Mount Olympus. The mountain does not tremble or resist. It welcomes. Its ridges gleam with morning light. Its forests hum softly with cicadas, its summit reaching into clear skies. Here the Olympians carve their dwelling, not with tools, but with will. Stones shift into marble, columns stretch upward, firelight blooms in hearths that never die. It is not the cold prison of Tartarus, nor the shifting wildness of chaos, but something steadier, an eternal home. You walk among them as they settle. Zeus sits upon his throne, his eyes bright with storms not yet spent. Lightning curls at his fingertips, ready but restrained. He has fought, he has won, and now he must reign. Beside him, Hera's presence is strong, her posture regal, her gaze sharp as though she already weighs what justice and order will mean under her husband's rule. Further along, Poseidon departs often, his steps leaving trails of salt mist. Though his seat rests here, his realm lies in the deep. The oceans call him constantly, their tides rising and falling in rhythm with his trident. He rules the watery vastness, but returns to Olympus when storms must be planned or judgments weighed. Hades is different. You sense his presence more than you see him. He lingers in shadow, his crown darker than night, his gaze heavy with memory. He does not smile when he takes his seat, but there is no bitterness. His realm is vast and solemn, and though his throne is here, his true dominion waits below, among silent rivers and endless halls of the dead. And then there are the others, the gods who begin to gather one by one, until Olympus is alive with 12 voices. Athena, sharp-eyed, springing fully formed from Zeus's head, already carrying wisdom older than her father's thunder. Apollo, radiant, with golden hair like sun rays spilling across marble floors, his lyre humming with promises of music and prophecy. Artemis, his twin, quiet but unyielding, her bow gleaming, her eyes fixed on distant forests. Ares, restless, pacing like a caged lion, craving the clang of battle though war has ended. You drift past Hephaestus's forge, glowing and alive, sparks scattering like fireflies in the shadows of his hall. With hammer in hand, he bends bronze and iron into shapes that gleam with power. His hands are scarred, his gait uneven, yet his craft shapes the very armor of gods. Beside him, Aphrodite appears, her beauty soft as dawn light on the sea. Where she steps, desire blooms, and even the gods cannot fully resist her presence. Hermes moves too quickly to catch. His feet are light, his laughter quicker still, his tongue carrying words across realms. He is messenger, trickster, guide, slipping through clouds, darting past rivers, carrying news between Olympus and the mortal world below. Dionysus arrives later, his crown of ivy fresh, his steps unsteady yet sure, his eyes bright with something wild that the others do not wholly understand. He brings wine, joy, ecstasy, but also madness, reminding even the high gods that delight always has a shadow. Together they fill Olympus with sound. Voices echo against marble, laughter mingles with argument, music softens the sharp edges of debate. You move among them and feel what this new order means. No longer the solitary power of a titan's rule, but a council, a family, a shifting balance of wills. Each god claims a realm: sky, sea, underworld, hearth, harvest, wisdom, war, love, art, wine, and more. Together they weave the threads of existence into something lasting. The halls of Olympus gleam brighter each day. From the throne room, Zeus looks down upon the world, watching mortals begin to stir across valleys and fields. From the kitchens, Hestia tends the eternal flame, her hearth never extinguished, her warmth steady and grounding. From the terraces, Apollo's music spills into the air, his notes shaping the seasons, the sun rising and setting with the rhythm of his lyre. Artemis drifts away often, her hunting dogs trailing behind, her bowstring singing in the quiet of forests. At night, when shadows deepen, you hear Hades' voice murmur faintly, the rustle of asphodel fields carried on cold winds. His throne sits empty, but his presence remains, a reminder that all lives end, even those ruled under Olympus's gaze. You wander through feasts as they begin. The gods dine together, nectar flowing like golden honey, ambrosia laid across the tables in shining bowls. The taste is light and strange, unlike any mortal grain or fruit, and it hums in your body, filling you with something eternal. Cups are lifted, toasts spoken, arguments sparked and settled again, always circling back to the same truth. They have won, they rule, and their reign stretches endlessly before them. Yet beneath the feasting you sense undercurrents. Hera's sharp eyes following Zeus's wandering glance, her hand tightening on her cup. Ares scowling at Athena, her wisdom quelling his thirst for strife. Hephaestus turning his back when Aphrodite laughs too easily with another. Even in the heights of Olympus, where clouds part to let only sunlight through, the seeds of discord stir. But they do not overshadow the grandeur, not yet. You step onto the balcony and look outward. From Olympus, the world spreads wide below you, fields of mortal men beginning their small lives, seas endless and restless, mountains steady and silent. The gods watch them too, sometimes guiding, sometimes meddling, sometimes ignoring. But always, Olympus sits above it all, a beacon of marble and fire, the home of powers too vast for human understanding. The reign is young. The halls are new. You feel the freshness in the air, the sense that all is still possible, every destiny unwritten. The Olympians, radiant and unbroken, shape laws, divide honors, claim their symbols. Lightning for Zeus, trident for Poseidon, helm of darkness for Hades, spear for Athena, bow for Artemis, lyre for Apollo, anvil for Hephaestus, doves for Aphrodite, winged sandals for Hermes, cup for Dionysus, sheaves of grain for Demeter, and hearthfire for Hestia. You stand among them as these symbols take root, each glowing faintly with power. They are more than ornaments, they are anchors, binding each god to their role, weaving their authority into the fabric of existence. As the night deepens, the fires of Olympus burn low, but they do not fade. You hear distant laughter still echoing, the faint strum of a lyre, the murmur of plans for tomorrow. In this moment, Olympus has ascended. Its halls are bright, its gods triumphant, its rule unchallenged. You breathe it in, the calm after endless struggle, the shimmer of beginnings. Above the clouds, in the cradle of Mount Olympus, a new age of myth has opened its doors. You sit in the quiet before it begins, the world still young, the soil barely worn beneath mortal feet. Men and women stumble through their days in dimness, their nights colder than stone, their hands clumsy without warmth or craft. You drift among them, watching them huddle in caves, shivering as winds curl through the cracks, chewing raw roots and gnawing meat without fire to soften it. They survive, but just barely, their eyes always looking upward as though something waits to be given. And then, in the stillness, you feel his presence. Prometheus. You see him standing apart, a titan who did not fall with his kin. His shoulders are broad, but his gaze is not fixed on Olympus nor Tartarus. He looks down instead toward the fragile beings who stumble in shadow. His heart stirs differently than the gods who rule above. Where Zeus sees mortals as fleeting creatures to be commanded, Prometheus sees possibility. You walk beside him as he studies their clumsy movements, their hunger, their silence. He knows they could be more. In the hush of night, Prometheus makes his choice. He turns his back on the throne of Zeus, ignoring the storm gathering in the heavens, and instead bends toward the earth. You follow him as he climbs the steep path up Olympus, moving with quiet determination, his steps soft against the stone. Above, the gods feast, their laughter spilling into the clouds, their tables glowing with nectar and ambrosia. But Prometheus does not linger in their halls. He slips to the hearth of Olympus itself, the flame that never dies, guarded and sacred. For a moment, you feel his hesitation. The fire is not meant for mortal hands. Zeus has decreed it, stern and unyielding, that men should remain as they are, weak and dependent. But Prometheus does not bend. He leans close, his eyes bright with defiance, and cups his hands around a single spark. It glows faintly, small yet alive, a trembling heart of heat and light. He hides it within a stalk of fennel, hollow and ready to carry the flame unseen. You move with him as he descends the mountain, each step carrying both danger and hope. The fire smoulders in his grasp, smoke faint but steady. When he reaches the mortals, their eyes widen. They have never seen such light, never felt such warmth. He kneels among them, sets the fennel stalk down, and with careful breath coaxes the spark into flame. It grows. You sit by it now, the first fire. Its glow spills across the faces of men and women, painting them in gold and shadow. Their eyes widen, their hands stretch forward, their shivering stops. The flame crackles and dances, rising higher, feeding on branches and dry grass. Its warmth spreads into your skin, seeping deep into your bones. For the first time, night is no longer only darkness. There is light, there is heat, there is safety. The mortals cry out in wonder, some laughing, some weeping, all huddling closer. They learn quickly how to feed it, how to protect it, how to cook with it, how to drive away beasts that once prowled too near. You smell the first meat roasted on open flame, richer than raw flesh ever was. You see the first clay hardened by heat, the first tools forged in fire. A new path opens before them, a path of strength, of craft, of survival remade. But high above, on Olympus, the storm gathers. Zeus watches from his throne, his eyes narrowing as the firelight flickers below. He knows, he feels the shift in the balance, the tremor in mortal life. Fire has changed them, lifted them beyond what he decreed. And in the glow of every hearth, Zeus sees defiance. His anger is thunder, heavy and sharp. He calls Prometheus to answer. You rise with Prometheus as he stands before the king of gods. The air is thick with power, the halls of Olympus trembling with Zeus's fury. His voice is like a storm breaking mountains. You have stolen what was mine. You have given fire to mortals. You have defied me. Prometheus does not kneel. His gaze holds steady, calm and unbroken. They needed it, he says softly. They are more than shadows. Fire will make them so. Zeus does not listen. His hand lifts, his judgment swift. Prometheus is seized, dragged away from the halls of Olympus, carried to the edge of the world. You follow, the wind whipping harsh against your skin, mountains rising sharp around you. There, on the lonely peak of Caucasus, Prometheus is chained. Heavy iron binds his wrists and ankles, the links driven deep into unyielding rock. The punishment is cruel. Each morning, an eagle descends from the sky, its wings vast, its cry piercing. It lands upon him and tears at his flesh, ripping open his side to devour his liver. You turn away, but you cannot escape the sound of his agony. By night, the wound heals, but dawn brings the eagle again. Day after day, pain without end, suffering renewed with each sunrise. And yet, even in torment, Prometheus does not cry out for mercy. His eyes still shine with quiet defiance, with the memory of fire burning in mortal hands. He endures, knowing that his suffering is the cost of their survival, their growth, their chance to rise. You feel his strength as though it hums in the very chains that bind him, unyielding, eternal, unbroken. Far below, mortals thrive. Fires burn in every village, smoke curling into the sky, a silent tribute to the Titan who gave them light. They do not see his chains, but they live by the gift he carried. They build, they forge, they learn, their lives stretching beyond the dimness they once knew. Time drifts slowly, like mist, curling over mountains. The eagle comes and goes, the chains remain, the wound never fully healed. Yet the story of Prometheus lingers, carried in whispers, in sparks, in the glow of every flame. You sit again by the fire, watching its steady dance, knowing it holds not only warmth, but defiance, sacrifice, and hope. The crackle soothes you now. The light flickers across stone walls, across your hands, across the world itself. It is gentle, hypnotic, unending. The punishment is harsh, but the gift cannot be undone. Fire belongs to mortals now, and through it, Prometheus lives on. The night deepens, the flames steady at your side. You close your eyes, the warmth sinking deeper, the quiet hum of crackling wood lulling you further into stillness. Above, the stars shimmer faintly, watching. Somewhere, chained against stone, a Titan endures. But here, in the glow, there is comfort. The gift of fire is eternal. The air feels soft, almost weightless, as though the world itself is holding its breath. You walk through a meadow brushed with new blossoms, the grass damp with dew, the sky a pale wash of blue. It feels like peace, but beneath it lies a quiet tension, the kind you sense without words, like the stillness before a storm. Something is about to shift. You see her then, Pandora. She does not look like the mortals who shiver by firelight or toil in the fields. She carries a glow that clings to her like a second skin, a beauty too deliberate, too flawless to be born of earth. She is not an accident of nature, but a creation, shaped by the hands of gods. Each god has left something upon her. Athena taught her skill with her hands, weaving cloth finer than any mortal fingers could craft. Aphrodite gave her grace and allure, a presence that draws eyes without effort. Hermes placed cunning in her tongue, a glimmer of cleverness behind her words. Even Hera, queen of Olympus, contributed, gifting a sense of pride. All these fragments swirl together until Pandora stands before you radiant, curious, and entirely new. But the gift of Zeus is different. She carries something with her, a jar. It is heavy, sealed, carved with strange markings that seem to shift when you look at them too long. No one tells her what lies within. They only tell her not to open it. And that warning, whispered again and again, curls around her like ivy. For a while she obeys, moving through the days with the jar always near, the lid always closed. You find yourself sitting in her home, a quiet place of clay and timber. The jar rests in the corner, gleaming faintly in the flickering light of the hearth. Pandora's eyes drift to it often, as though the weight of it presses on her chest. She tries to turn away, busies herself with weaving, grinding grain, humming softly, but her gaze always returns. You can feel it too, that pull, that whisper at the edge of thought. What could be inside? Why should it remain hidden? The silence of the jar is more haunting than any answer. One evening, the air grows restless. A breeze snakes through the shutters, lifting strands of her hair. The fire dips low, shadows lengthen, and the jar seems brighter in the dimness, as though waiting. Pandora moves toward it, her steps slow, hesitant, yet inevitable. She kneels before it, tracing her fingers along the rim. Her touch lingers on the seal. Her breath catches. You hold yours too. Then with the softest motion, she lifts the lid. At once, the world changes. From the darkness inside pours not treasure, not blessings, but a surge of shapes and cries. They rush out in a storm of whispers, 1,000 voices all at once. They twist like smoke, darting into every crack of the room, every shadow, every opened space. You see them clearly, sickness with hollow eyes, hunger with a shriveled frame, war carrying a dripping blade, jealousy with hands clutching at air, despair cloaked in endless grey. They are not illusions, they are real, and they scatter into the night like sparks from a fire. Pandora cries out, her hands scrambling to close the lid, but it is too late. The air is thick with their presence, pressing against your skin, chilling your bones. You hear laughter, sharp as broken glass, weeping that echoes inside your chest, the flutter of countless wings carrying misery into every corner of the earth. She slams the lid shut at last, her chest heaving, tears streaking her face. The jar is sealed again, but the world outside is no longer the same. The meadow that once shone with dew now carries a faint shadow, a silence broken by distant cries. You feel it seep into the soil, the rivers, the wind. Life itself has changed. But inside the jar, something remains. You can sense it. Not everything escaped. A faint glow lingers beneath the lid, steady and soft. Pandora trembles as she hears a voice, not cruel or sharp, but gentle. Hope. She lifts the jar just enough to glimpse it. A shimmer like dawn rests within, not rushing to flee, not clawing to escape, but waiting. It is smaller than the rest, quieter, but it does not vanish. She lowers the lid again, holding it close as though cradling a child. And so hope stays, sealed but present, a light hidden in darkness, ready to be found when the weight of the others grows too heavy. You step outside into the night air, and the world feels different. You can sense the miseries already at work, Men coughing in fields, crops withering, neighbors arguing, soldiers sharpening blades. Yet you also feel the ember of hope, faint but steady, like a pulse beneath the earth. It is not enough to erase what has escaped, but it is enough to endure. Pandora stands at the threshold, the jar clutched in her arms. She looks out into the world she has changed, her face pale, her eyes wide. She did not mean for this, she did not know, and yet the story is written now. The sorrows will spread, life will never again be free of them. But as you watch, she does not collapse. She does not sink into despair. She holds the jar firmly, almost protectively. Somewhere inside her, she knows what remains within. And perhaps that is why humanity will survive, not in spite of her choice, but because of it. The night grows quiet again, though the air carries a new heaviness. You walk through the meadow once more, the blossoms dim in the starlight. Each flower seems fragile, yet they still grow. Each breath feels thinner, yet you still breathe. In the distance, fires flicker. Men and women sit by their hearths, unaware yet of what has been unleashed. But soon they will know. They will suffer. They will weep. They will fight. And still, somehow, they will rise again, guided by that faint, hidden spark. You close your eyes and you can almost hear it. The muffled heartbeat of hope inside the jar, patient and eternal. The gods may have sent sorrow into the world, but they left a thread to follow, a reason to move forward. And in every struggle, every dark night, mortals will find it waiting, ready to remind them that the story is not only despair. The wind quiets, the stars wheel overhead, the meadow exhales as if accepting what has come. And you, drifting beside it all, feel yourself sinking deeper into stillness. The jar remains sealed, but its echo lingers in you, a reminder that every shadow carries the outline of light, and even in the heaviest sorrow, something waits to steady the hand, to lift the heart, to keep the flame alive. The air of Olympus is heavy with perfume, the scent of ambrosia drifting from golden bowls. Laughter curls through the halls, bright and hollow, like bells echoing in marble corridors. Yet beneath the glittering light, beneath the carved thrones and polished pillars, there is no peace. You feel it immediately as you wander through, the tension woven into the fabric of the gods themselves. For as radiant as they are, their hearts are restless, and their desires are storms that never still. You pause at the steps of Zeus's throne, the seat of the sky. He leans forward, eyes glimmering like storms gathering over the horizon. His voice is calm when he speaks to his fellow gods, but his gaze strays, always searching, always yearning. He is the king of Olympus, master of thunder and ruler of heaven, and yet his hunger is never satisfied. You see it in the way he studies mortals below, in the way his attention drifts to nymphs, to goddesses, to women of every kind. He does not merely love, he takes, he claims, he transforms himself into whatever shape will bring him close. You follow him, almost unwillingly, into one of these tales. A woman gathers water at a stream, her hands delicate against the rush of current. She does not know that the swan gliding toward her carries within its white feathers the power of the thunderer. Another girl, alone in a field of flowers, looks up to see a bull with shining eyes. She does not know she rides on the back of Zeus himself as he carries her across the sea. The world is full of such encounters, each one dazzling, strange, and often cruel. But where Zeus's passion burns bright, Hera's fury follows like lightning after thunder. You see her now standing tall in her jeweled crown, her eyes sharp as knives. She is queen, goddess of marriage, protector of women, yet her life is bound to a husband whose loyalty is as fleeting as the wind. Her pride is immense, her anger greater still. She cannot strike Zeus directly, his thunderbolts guard him too well, but she can strike those who capture his wandering heart. You watch as she moves through the world with vengeance in her wake. Io, once a maiden, now wanders in the form of a cow, chased across the earth, tears falling from eyes that no longer look human. Semele, touched by desire for Zeus, is destroyed by the very sight of his true form, burned away by the brilliance of his godhood. Her child, Dionysus, barely survives, sewn into his father's thigh. Hera's wrath is relentless, and it echoes far beyond Olympus, reshaping mortal lives into tragedies. And yet Hera's anger is not always cruelty. You sense the wound beneath it, the humiliation, the betrayal. She is bound by law and fate to Zeus, and in that bond lies a cage. Her jealousy is not only vengeance, but also a cry for dignity in a world ruled by his appetites. You linger on her face for a moment, softer than her fury allows, and you understand. She loves him still, though his love for her is fractured, scattered across the earth. Around you, the other gods are not free from these tangled storms. Aphrodite drifts past in a shimmer of rose-gold light, her smile sweet, her presence intoxicating. She is love incarnate, but her own heart is far from steady. Though she is bound to Hephaestus, the god of craft and fire, her eyes wander. You glimpse her in secret embraces with Ares, the war god, his armor clattering as he slips into her arms. Their passion is fire and blood, reckless and consuming. Hephaestus knows. You see him in his forge, hammering bronze with steady rhythm, sparks flying. His back is bent, his face marked by the scars of rejection, yet his mind is sharper than any blade he creates. He traps them once, weaving a net so fine and unbreakable that when they meet again, the lovers find themselves caught, bound before the gaze of all Olympus. Laughter rings through the hall at their shame. But beneath that laughter you hear something harsher, mockery, cruelty, the reminder that even gods are not free of humiliation. Aphrodite does not weep. She rises from the net with her beauty untarnished, her allure undimmed. She carries on as if nothing could bind her, and perhaps nothing can. Love itself cannot be chained, but Hephaestus carries his bitterness like iron in his chest, and Ares burns hotter, reckless in the face of scorn. Other tales rise around you, each one a thread in this endless tapestry of longing and vengeance. Apollo pursues Daphne through the forest, his hands outstretched, her cries desperate. She flees until her body transforms into a laurel tree, roots sinking into the earth, branches rising to the sky. He crowns himself with her leaves, a wreath to honor the love he could never hold. Artemis, proud and untouchable, punishes Actaeon, who stumbles upon her while she bathes in the wild. She transforms him into a stag, and his own hounds tear him apart. Desire in the realm of the gods is dangerous. Chance itself can destroy. Even among mortals touched by divinity, the drama unfolds with aching repetition. Helen, born of Zeus's union with Leda, becomes the most beautiful woman in the world, her very presence enough to spark a war that drags nations into ruin. Paris, guided by the promise of Aphrodite, takes her, and the jealousies of men mirror the jealousies of God. Blood spilled for the sake of desire. As you drift deeper, the patterns become clearer. Love, jealousy, betrayal, they are not mortal inventions. They are divine currents, woven into existence itself. The gods mirror humanity, or perhaps humanity mirrors the gods. Their passions shape the world, their grudges ripple through generations, and you, watching, feel both wonder and weariness. For the dramas of Olympus, though radiant in their telling, carry the same ache as any mortal quarrel, longing for what cannot last, fury at betrayal, the endless cycle of desire and loss. The hall of Olympus glows around you, its pillars white as bone, its air heavy with the mingled scents of wine and honey. The gods sit upon their thrones, yet their faces are restless. Zeus leans close to another beauty. Hera's jaw tightens, Oris smoulders, Aphrodite smiles, Hephaestus broods. No harmony settles here, only a fragile truce, broken again and again by the tides of their hearts. You step back from the brightness, out into the night air where the constellations glimmer, and there, written across the sky, you see their stories etched in stars. Swans, bulls, hunters, maidens. The heavens themselves carry the echoes of these loves and jealousies, reminders that even in the silence of the night, the dramas of Olympus unfold. As you breathe in the cool air, the weight of it all settles into you. Love in the hands of gods is both gift and curse. Jealousy burns, but it also proves the depth of attachment. Their stories may feel larger than life, but the emotions are ones you know, felt in your own quiet heart. You close your eyes, drifting with that thought, letting the voices of Olympus fade to murmurs. The stars wheel slowly overhead, steady and patient, while the passions of the gods blaze and vanish, leaving only echoes to linger in the dark. The halls of Olympus fade behind you, and you find yourself on the earth once more, where the soil is rich with stories, and the air carries the hum of mortal voices. Yet among those voices there are names spoken with reverence, whispered as though each syllable glows. These are the demigods, the children of gods and mortals, figures who walk between two worlds, bearing the mark of divine parentage, but the struggles of human fate. You wander into a village where the people speak of Perseus. Their eyes light up at the sound of his name, as if retelling his deeds grants them a share in his glory. He was born to a mortal princess, Danae, locked away in a bronze chamber by a father terrified of prophecy. And yet Zeus found her, not in his thunderous form, but as a shower of golden light that slipped through the cracks and touched her skin. From that radiance Perseus came into the world, a child bound by both divine spark and human fragility. You drift beside him as he grows. He learns not only the weight of his name, but also the sharpness of destiny. You feel the cool sea air as he sails with courage far beyond his years, seeking the head of Medusa, that cursed Gorgon whose gaze turns flesh to stone. The gods themselves place tools in his hands. Athena's shining shield, polished so smooth it reflects like water. Hermes' winged sandals, swift and light. You see him lift the curved blade, steel catching the faint light of dawn, and step into the shadowed lair. The air is damp, full of stone figures frozen mid-movement, their faces twisted with terror. Perseus breathes steady and careful as he keeps his eyes on the mirror of the shield. One swing, precise as lightning, and the monster falls. Her hair, a nest of living serpents, writhes even as the world grows silent. Holding the head of Medusa, he carries not only a trophy but a weapon feared by gods and mortals alike. You feel the weight of it in his satchel, a burden of power that hums faintly as he travels onward. You walk with him when he rescues Andromeda, chained to the rocks by the sea, her fate sealed by a monster rising from the waves. With the Gorgon's head, he turns the creature to stone, freeing her, winning her hand. His story is victory, yes, but it is also a thread woven tightly by gods, pulling him into trials that test both courage and heart. You step away from Perseus and find yourself in another land where the dust of the plains clings to your skin and the sky stretches endless above. Here lives Bellerophon, another mortal marked by divinity. His tail rises not with thunder, but with the pounding of hooves. You hear them before you see him, the wing beats of Pegasus, the immortal horse sprung from Medusa's blood. Its wings are white as snow, powerful enough to lift rider and beast into the clouds. Bellerophon is no ordinary man. He is daring, reckless, unafraid to challenge the impossible. You watch him slip a golden bridle, given by Athena herself, onto Pegasus. The bond is sealed, and suddenly the sky opens, carrying him aloft. You soar with him over mountains, wind tearing at your hair, the world below shrinking until villages look like pebbles and rivers like threads of silver. It is a freedom unlike any other, the freedom of a mortal touching heaven. With Pegasus beneath him, Bellerophon faces the Chimera, a beast of fire and fury, its lion's head roaring, its serpent's tail coiling, its breath scorching the air. You see him charge, spear in hand, the horse's wings beating steady as drums of war. He drives his weapon deep, slaying the monster, his triumph echoing across the land. Yet pride swells within him, too vast, too dangerous. In his heart, he believes he deserves not only the skies, but Olympus itself. You feel his hands tug at the reins, urging Pegasus higher, past the clouds, toward the thrones of the gods. But Zeus does not suffer arrogance lightly. A single gadfly sent to sting the horse breaks the ascent. Pegasus flails and Bellerophon plummets. The wind screams past, and he falls, not to glory but to ruin. Crippled, forgotten, he spends his days wandering alone. You sense the quiet warning in his fate. Divine blood may grant power, but it cannot shield. From hubris, the pattern repeats itself again and again across the world. Wherever you go, demigods walk, half human, half divine, carrying burdens and gifts. Some rise to greatness, others fall to tragedy. Yet all of them live in the space between, a place you now drift through, their voices brushing past like echoes. You hear the name of Heracles, the strongest of them all, though his tale will come later, in fuller depth. For now, you only glimpse him as a boy, wrestling serpents with bare hands while other children cry out in fear. His strength is unnatural, his path already carved with trials. You step back, leaving him for another time. Another corner of the earth calls you, and here you meet Atalanta. Though not born of a god's embrace, her life still shimmers with divine favor. You see her race through the forest, faster than the deer she chases, bow in hand, arrows sharp. No man can outrun her, no hunter best her skill. Yet even she is drawn into the web of gods, her fate tied to a golden apple cast upon the path, a trick of desire spun by Aphrodite. Her speed falters, her independence bends. The gods touch even those who try to stand free. You realize, as you move among them, that these figures are not simply tales of victory and defeat. They are bridges. Mortals look to them and see the possibility of rising higher, of touching something beyond the limits of flesh. The gods look at them and see reflections of themselves, bound by human choices, human fragility. Demigods walk a line no one else can walk, and in doing so they leave stories that ripple across centuries. Night gathers as you wander. You see Perseus laying his head on stone after his long journeys, Pegasus grazing in quiet meadows, Bellerophon limping in shadow, his eyes turned always toward the sky he cannot reach again. Around them songs rise, woven into memory, keeping their names alive even as time moves forward. Mortals remember them not because they were flawless, but because they were both more than human, and still deeply human. The stars above glitter with shapes that carry these stories. You trace the arc of constellations, feeling how each light is a reminder, a marker left by gods who both honored and punished their children. Perseus among the stars, Andromeda beside him, Pegasus flying eternal across the night. Even in the heavens, the boundary between mortal and divine blurs, leaving only light to speak for what once was. As you breathe into the stillness, you understand the quiet lesson. To be a demigod is to live in longing, longing for the divine world that can never fully embrace you, longing for mortal rest that always feels too small. It is triumph and sorrow intertwined, each step heavy with both power and burden. And as you let that thought settle, you drift with them into the silence of history, the beat of Pegasus's wings fading into nothing but the soft hum of night. The night air is heavy with the scent of pine, and the ground beneath your feet is rough with stones. You are not alone. Beside you strides Heracles, larger than life, his shadow stretching long across the earth. His shoulders are broad as mountains, his arms corded with strength, yet there is weariness in his gait. For though he is the son of Zeus, marked with divinity from birth, his life is not one of peace. He is burdened with labors, 12 in all, that will carve his name into memory, but cost him dearly at every step. You feel the weight of the first as you follow him into the hills of Nemea. The villagers whisper of a lion there, a beast unlike any other. Its hide cannot be pierced by bronze or iron, and its roar shakes the trees. You hear it before you see it, a rumble that makes the earth tremble. Heracles grips his club, carved from solid oak, rough and heavy. He meets the beast in its cave, eyes locked, no fear in his gaze. The lion charges, claws slashing, jaws gaping wide. Blades are useless, so he wrestles it with his bare hands, his arms encircling the beast like chains. The struggle is brutal, but at last the lion falls. With the animal's own claws, he skins the unbreakable hide and drapes it over himself. The pelt clings to his shoulders, the head forming a hood, and you realize this image will follow him forever. Heracles cloaked in the lion's strength. The second labor leads you into the swamps of Lerna, where the air reeks of rot and water laps dark against the reeds. From the shadows emerges the Hydra, a serpent with many heads, each one hissing and dripping venom. You watch as Heracles slashes at one, only to see 2 more rise from the wound. It is a hopeless fight until he calls on his nephew, Iolaus. Together they find the answer, fire. Each time Heracles severs a head, Iolaus scorches the stump with a burning brand, sealing it shut. The monster thrashes, the swamp bubbling with its fury, until only one head remains, the immortal one. Heracles buries it beneath a heavy stone, ensuring it will trouble the world no more. Even in victory, you see the poison on his arrows dipped in the Hydra's blood, tools that will haunt his later deeds. The third labor carries you to the forests of Chaeronea, where a golden-horned stag leaps through the trees, swift as wind, sacred to Artemis. Heracles pursues it not with fury but patience. For a year, he tracks its hooves, across rivers, over mountains, through snow and sun. Finally, when the animal tires, he captures it alive, its body trembling, eyes wide with divinity. He carries it gently, mindful of Artemis's wrath, proving his strength lies not only in violence, but in endurance. Next comes the Erymanthian boar, a beast of ice and rage that terrorizes the countryside. You follow Heracles into the snow-bound peaks where the creature charges with tusks sharp as spears. He wrestles it, driving it into deep drifts, binding it with ropes until it thrashes helplessly. The villagers cheer, their fear lifted, and Heracles shoulders the beast as if it were no heavier than a sack of grain. But not all labors are battles. The fifth leads you to the stables of Algæus, king with herds so vast the ground itself sinks under their weight. The stench is unbearable, filth piled high for years. Heracles does not flinch. He diverts rivers, their waters rushing in torrents, sweeping the muck clean in a single day. It is cunning, not brawn, that wins here. You watch him stand with water streaming past, his task complete, the air fresh once more. The sixth labour brings you to the cliffs of Stymphalus, where birds of bronze wings and iron beaks swarm the skies. Their cries are shrill, their feathers sharp as arrows. Heracles raises a rattle given by Athena, its clangour startling them into flight. As they scatter, he draws his bow, arrows whistling through the air, and the birds fall in dark showers against the lake. Silence returns, the water still and clear. The seventh task leads south to the island of Crete, where a great bull tramples fields and bellows flames. Heracles grapples with it, muscles straining as he drives it to the ground, his hands unyielding until the beast submits. In the eighth, he travels to Thrace, where the mares of Diomedes feast on human flesh. Their eyes are wild, their teeth stained. Heracles feeds their master to them, taming their madness through grim justice. He leads them away, their fury broken, the terror of Thrace ended. Then in the ninth, he seeks the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. At first, she greets him kindly, willing to give her gift. But Hera stirs trouble, sowing fear among the warrior women. Battle erupts, shields ringing, spears flashing. Amid the chaos, Heracles takes the girdle, his face shadowed by sorrow for what might have been peace. The 10th labour pulls you to the far reaches of the world, where the cattle of Geryon graze. This monster, three-bodied and immense, guards them fiercely. Heracles faces him in blazing sun, arrow tipped with Hydra's poison, piercing the giant's side. He drives the cattle home, their hooves drumming against the earth, a river of life flowing under his care. By the 11th labour you are weary, but still you follow. The golden apples of the Hesperides lie beyond reach, guarded by a serpent coiled around the tree. Heracles does not fight alone here. He turns to Atlas, the Titan holding the heavens on his shoulders. "Fetch the apples," he tells him, "and I will bear your burden." You see Heracles standing, sky pressing down, his arms like pillars holding eternity. Atlas returns with the shining fruit, and Heracles, through trickery, shifts the heavens back to him, leaving with the apples and the glory of cleverness as well as strength. At last, the 12th labour, the darkest of them all. The descent into Hades, where shadows curl thick, and the air chills your bones. Here, Heracles must bring forth Cerberus, the three-headed hound that guards the underworld's gates. You stand at the threshold, watching him walk unarmed before Hades, asking only for permission. The god of the dead agrees, so long as Heracles uses no weapon. With arms alone, Heracles seizes the beast, its heads snapping, its tail a serpent writhing. The struggle is immense, but he does not falter. At last, Cerberus yields, dragged into the light of day, his growls rolling like thunder. When the task is done, Heracles returns him unharmed, for his strength does not seek needless cruelty. You breathe out, the labours completed, though their toll lingers. Each one has carved into him not only fame, but also scars, burdens of sweat, blood, and memory. He is both mortal and divine, celebrated and cursed. Yet as you walk beside him in the quiet after the trials, you see something gentler in his eyes. He's not just a warrior, not just a killer of beasts and monsters. He is a man who has endured, who has bent fate's weight upon his back, and still walked forward. The stars overhead glimmer faintly, and among them you trace the image of a lion, a bull, a serpent. Each constellation whispers of his deeds, eternal markers of struggles long past. Heracles does not vanish into silence. His story lingers, carried in the night sky, told again and again as the ages drift by. And you, weary now, feel his labors echo softly within you, a rhythm of endurance, courage, and quiet sorrow that hums into the stillness of sleep. The sea stretches wide before you, dark and endless, the scent of salt thick in the air. A ship rocks gently on the waves, its sail pulled taut by the wind. At its prow stands a young man, his gaze steady, his jaw set with quiet determination. This is Theseus, son of Aegeus, or perhaps of Poseidon himself, for in his veins runs something more than mortal strength. His story is not only his own, but also that of a city, for with each step he takes, the fate of Athens begins to take shape. You walk with him first along the winding paths of his youth. His mother raised him in Trojan, far from the bustling heart of Athens, until the time came to claim his heritage. Under a great rock, hidden by his father, lay a sword and sandals, signs of his birthright. When Theseus grew strong enough to lift the stone, he uncovered them, proof that he was not meant to remain in shadow. With these in hand, he chose not the safety of the sea journey, but the danger of the land road to Athens, where bandits and monsters prowled. That path tested him, and you follow along. Periphates, the club-bearer who struck down travelers, fell to Theseus's strength, his weapon claimed, and turned against him. Sinis, the pine-bender who tore men apart between trees, was forced to endure the same fate he inflicted on others. The sow of Crommyon, wild and destructive, met her end beneath Theseus's hand. Scyron, who kicked travelers from cliffs to be devoured by a monstrous turtle, was himself cast down. Cercyon, who challenged men to wrestle, was defeated and slain in his own contest. Procrustes, who stretched or cut men to fit his iron bed, was laid upon it himself, tasting his own cruelty. Each encounter is swift yet heavy with meaning. You sense in Theseus a pattern. He is a man who cleanses the road of its dangers, who turns violence back upon the wicked. By the time he reaches Athens, his name is already stirring in whispers, a protector born of justice. Yet his arrival is not met with simple joy. His father, King Aegeus, does not at once recognize him, and the court is thick with intrigue. Medea, the sorceress, whispers poison, urging the king to rid himself of the stranger. A goblet of wine laced with death is placed before Theseus. But in the last moment, Aegeus sees the sword, his own, once hidden beneath that heavy rock. The truth strikes him like lightning, and he embraces the young man as his son. The poison is spilled, and father and heir are joined. But Athens suffers another shadow, one cast across the sea. Each year, or in some tellings every 9, a tribute must be sent to Crete. 7 youths and 7 maidens, chosen from among the best of the city, doomed to enter the labyrinth of King Minos. There, beneath the palace of Knossos, waits the Minotaur, half man, half bull, a creature of terror, born from divine punishment. None who enter the twisting maze return. When the lot is drawn once more, Theseus steps forward. He will not allow his people to suffer. He pledges himself as one of the 14, determined to slay the beast or perish. The ship carries him across the Aegean, its sails black, a sign of mourning, though he promises his father he will return with white sails if victorious. You follow him onto the island of Crete, into the gleaming halls of Minos' palace. The king is stern, his eyes cold, yet it is not he who alters the course of fate, but his daughter Ariadne. She sees Theseus, and her heart stirs with longing. She cannot bear the thought of him lost in the endless maze. Secretly, she comes to him, placing in his hand a simple ball of thread. "Tie this at the entrance," she whispers, "and unwind it as you go. Only then will you find your way back." Her gift is small in appearance, yet vast in power. It is hope, it is love, it is survival. Night falls, and torches flicker against the stone as the chosen youths are led to the labyrinth's gaping mouth. You step in after Theseus, the walls looming, the air heavy with silence. The passages twist and turn, each one leading deeper into confusion. The stone feels damp beneath your hand as you trail behind him, the thread unspooling, a fragile lifeline in the dark. And then you hear it. A low bellow, half human, half beast, echoing through the maze. The Minotaur emerges from the shadows, towering, its head crowned with horns, its eyes burning with hunger. It charges, the ground shuddering under its hooves. Theseus meets it, head-on, his muscles coiled, his club raised. The struggle is fierce, the sound of impact filling the labyrinth. The beast claws and strikes, but Theseus is unyielding. With strength and cunning, he drives his weapon into the monster again and again, until at last the Minotaur collapses lifeless. The curse of Crete ended in silence. The thread guides him back step by step until the night air touches your skin once more. Ariadne is waiting, her eyes alight with relief. Together they flee the island, the ship carrying them away from Knossos, away from the labyrinth's coils. For a moment, the story feels bright, filled with promise. Yet destiny twists as sharply as any maze. On the Isle of Naxos, Ariadne is left behind. Whether Theseus abandoned her by choice or whether the gods themselves decreed it, none can say. Her tears fall upon the sand, but later, another god will claim her, Dionysus, who crowns her with stars. Theseus sails on, his heart heavy, his thoughts turned homeward. But in his grief, he forgets the promise made to his father. The sails remain black. From the cliffs of Athens, King Aegeus watches the horizon, searching for the sign of his son's survival. When he sees only darkness, despair overwhelms him. He casts himself into the sea, and the waters take his name, the Aegean, forever tied to his sorrow. Theseus steps onto the shore as king, though the crown rests uneasily upon him. He unites the scattered villages of Attica into one city, binding them under the name of Athens. He shapes laws, strengthens institutions, and guides his people into the beginnings of democracy. His reign is not free of hardship. Trials and mistakes shadow him, but his place in the heart of the city endures. And so you see him not only as a slayer of beasts, but as a founder, a builder, a figure whose choices carve the outline of a nation. The labyrinth fades into memory, the Minotaur into legend, but the city he forged remains, rising stone upon stone, carried forward through centuries. Above you the stars shimmer, and among them you imagine the thread, stretching across the sky, a line that guides wanderers back from confusion into light. Theseus's tale lingers in it, a reminder that even in the darkest maze, courage and cleverness may find a way through. You breathe deeply, the night soft against your skin, and let the story's rhythm carry you gently toward rest. The first sound is the creak of wood, steady and low, like the breath of something alive. The Argo rests in the water, her timbers cut from sacred trees, her prow carved with care, her hull built to carry more than men. It will carry destiny. You stand upon her deck, the salt air curling around you, the sun glinting across the surface of the sea. Around you gather heroes, each with their own story, each with strength and skill that will be tested on the voyage ahead. Jason is there, quiet in his resolve, his hair touched with sunlight, his hand firm upon the rail. He is young, but a fire burns in his chest, a hunger to reclaim a throne, to prove himself worthy. His task is simple in its words, impossible in its deed, to bring back the golden fleece from the far-off land of Colchis. It gleams in distant memory, a hide of gold draped upon a tree, guarded by dragon and fate. To reach it, he must pass through storms, trials and wonders that no ordinary man could survive. You breathe in, and the voyage begins. The oars dip into the water, pulling in rhythm, a heartbeat against the waves. The sea opens wide before you, vast and glittering. One by one, you feel the presence of those who share this journey. There is Heracles, mighty and unmatched in strength, though his path will soon diverge. There are Castor and Pollux, twin brothers, bright as stars, their bond unbreakable. Orpheus stands among them, his lyre ready, his songs able to quiet even the wildest heart. Each figure carries their own light, and together they form a constellation of heroes. The wind rises, filling the sail, and the Argo glides forward. Days pass in the gentle rhythm of sea life, oars dipping, ropes tightening, songs drifting over water. At night, you lie beneath the stars, the sky endless, the constellations shifting above like watchful eyes. The sea is never still, though. It holds both wonder and danger. Soon, the first challenge comes. On the island of Lemnos, the ship anchors, and the air carries a strange stillness. The women there live alone, having driven away or slain their men. They welcome the Argonauts with open arms, their loneliness softening into passion. For a time, the heroes linger, lulled by comfort, by embraces, by a life without hardship. Yet Jason knows the voyage must continue. One by one, the crew gathers again, leaving behind the warmth of Lemnos for the call of the fleece. The ship moves on and storms meet it. Thunder splits the sky, rain lashes the deck, waves rise like mountains. You grip the rail, your body swaying with the heave of the sea, while Jason and his companions fight to keep the Argo afloat. The mast groans, the sail tears, but still the ship pushes forward, her prow stubborn against the fury of Poseidon's realm. When at last the storm quiets, you feel both relief and awe. This sea does not give passage easily. More wonders await. You pass an island where birds circle, their feathers tipped like blades, sharp enough to cut flesh. The Argonauts raise shields above their heads, the feathers rattling against the bronze until arrows drive the birds away. You see Heracles leave the ship, his strength claimed for another path, his story woven elsewhere. The Argo grows lighter, yet the journey grows heavier. The greatest test yet looms ahead, the Symplegades, the clashing rocks. Two enormous cliffs facing each other across a narrow strait slam shut with a force that could crush any ship that dares to pass. The sea boils between them, and your heart tightens at the sight. How can any vessel survive? Jason listens to the counsel of Phineus, the blind prophet whom they aided along the way. "Send forth a dove," he had said, "and follow if it survives." The bird is released, its wings flashing white against the spray. It darts forward, swift as an arrow, the rocks thunder-closed, scraping its tail, but it escapes. At once, the oarsmen row, with all their might, the Argo surging forward. You feel the strain in every muscle, the heartbeat of the ship racing. The cliffs crash together behind you, splintering wood at the stern, but the Argo emerges whole. Ahead lies open sea, and a shout rises from the deck, a shout of triumph, of survival, of faith renewed. At last, the journey brings you to Colchis, the land of the fleece. The air here feels heavy, charged with mystery. King Aeetes rules with suspicion, his eyes hard as stone. He does not hand over the fleece freely. Instead, he sets Jason tasks no mortal should endure: to yoke fire-breathing bulls, to plough a field with them, to sow dragons' teeth into the earth, and then to face the warriors who spring from the soil, armed and ready to kill. Jason prepares, though the weight of the challenge presses down, but fate has not abandoned him, nor has love. For Medea, daughter of Aeetes, watches him, and her heart stirs as Ariadne's once did. She is not only a woman but a sorceress, her knowledge deep, her power strong. She offers her aid, whispering secrets of survival, potions to shield his skin from fire, spells to weaken the earthborn men. In her, Jason finds both guide and companion, though at the cost of her betrayal of father and home. With her help, the trials are met. The bulls snort flame, yet Jason stands unharmed. The earth shakes as armed men rise from dragons' teeth, yet Jason casts a stone among them, and in confusion they turn on one another until none remain. Aeetes' fury grows, but the fleece still hangs upon its tree, guarded by the dragon that never sleeps. You walk with Jason and Medea into the grove. The air is thick with gold, the fleece shining with an otherworldly light. The dragon coils near, its eyes gleaming, its breath a hiss of endless watch. Medea chants softly, her voice like a lullaby, her spells winding around the beast. Slowly, its lids grow heavy, its coils slacken, and at last, it sleeps. Jason steps forward, lifting the fleece from the branches, its glow flooding his hands. Victory is his, though it is woven with debt, to Medea, to fate, to the gods who watched. The Argo sails once more, the fleece aboard, but the journey home is no simple return. Pursuit follows, vengeance stirs, and Medea's choices grow darker. Yet in this moment, as the wind fills the sail and the golden prize rests secure, you stand with the Argonauts in their triumph, the sea stretching wide, the horizon endless. The wood of the Argo still creaks beneath you, her sacred timbers whispering, as if the ship herself remembers every stroke, every storm, every wonder. You close your eyes, lulled by the rhythm of oars and waves, carried deeper into the dream of myth, where men and gods sail side by side, and every horizon hides another story. You find yourself at the gates of Thebes, the stone walls tall and watchful, the air carrying the weight of ancient prophecies. The city seems alive, not only in its people but in the shadows of its past, for Thebes has never been free of curse or consequence. It is a place where joy turns to sorrow with a single twist, where fate runs deeper than the rivers that feed the land. The story begins long before Oedipus, with Laius, king of Thebes, and his queen Jocasta. One night, whispers from Delphi, the oracle of Apollo, drift into their lives like a chill wind. The prophecy is cruel, its words sharp as blades. Their son will grow to kill his father and wed his mother. You can feel their terror, the way such knowledge poisons love even before a child is born. The infant arrives, small and helpless, and yet already heavy with doom. His ankles are pierced, tied together, and he is handed to a servant to be left upon the mountainside. The decision is desperate, a feeble attempt to outwit what the gods have spoken. But fate is not so easily undone. The servant cannot finish the task. Pity softens his heart. The child is passed instead to another's arms, to shepherds from Corinth, who carry him to a kindly king and queen. Here, in Corinth, the boy grows. He is named Oedipus, swollen foot, a mark of the cruelty he endured before he could walk. He learns, he laughs, he believes himself the true son of those who raised him. Yet whispers reach him one day, cruel rumors that he is not who he thinks he is. Disturbed, uncertain, he seeks the oracle, hoping for clarity. Instead, he hears a prophecy not of origins, but of future. He will kill his father. He will marry his mother. Imagine the fear rising in him, the resolve forming as he decides never to return home to Corinth, never to risk harming those he believes to be his parents. He sets out upon the road, walking into the unknown, blind to the truth that walks beside him. On a lonely path, the prophecy tightens its grip. Oedipus meets a man, older, proud, with a small retinue. Words clash, tempers flare, and rage rises swift as fire. In the struggle, blows are exchanged, and when the dust settles, the man lies dead. Laius, king of Thebes, father of Oedipus. Yet Oedipus walks on, unaware of the blood that ties them. Fate has moved silently, fulfilling itself without his knowledge. Soon the city of Thebes appears again, its walls rising under the shadow of despair. For a monster has haunted its gates, the Sphinx, part woman, part lion, her wings dark against the sky, her riddle sharp and unsolved. She has devoured all who failed to answer her question. Thebes trembles, waiting for deliverance. Oedipus steps forward, determined, bold. The riddle falls from her lips. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at midday, and 3 in the evening? He listens, thinks, and answers. Man, a child crawls, an adult walks, the old lean upon a cane. The words are simple, yet they unravel her power. The Sphinx shrieks, defeated, and hurls herself into the abyss. Thebes is free. The people cheer, relief flooding their voices. The king is dead, the monster gone, and they see Oedipus as savior, as hero. They crown him their ruler, and they give him Jocasta, queen and widow, as wife. He accepts joyfully, still blind to the truth that coils beneath his feet. The prophecy has been fulfilled, and yet no one knows it. Time passes. The city thrives under Oedipus, its walls ringing with songs of prosperity. But shadows always return. A plague falls upon Thebes, cruel and relentless. Crops wither, cattle die, children perish in the streets. The people beg their king for salvation once more. Oedipus, proud and determined, vows to find the cause. He sends for oracles, for seers, for truth. He speaks with Tiresias, the blind prophet whose sight is deeper than eyes allow. Tiresias resists, but Oedipus presses, demanding answers. At last, the words come, heavy and unbearable. You are the source. You are the man who has brought this curse upon Thebes.
Rage surges in Oedipus. He cannot believe, will not believe. He accuses the prophet of lies, of conspiracy. Yet one by one, pieces fall into place. Servants speak, memories stir, threads unravel. The messenger from Corinth arrives, bringing word that Oedipus is not the blood son of the Corinthian king. The servant from Thebes recalls the abandoned infant with pierced ankles.
Jocasta hears enough to understand, and horror overwhelms her. You feel the walls close in, the truth pressing down like a weight impossible to bear. Jocasta flees to her chambers, and when silence follows, it is the silence of death. Oedipus finds her hanging, lifeless, and grief tears him open. His hands tremble, his eyes burn, and in despair he blinds himself, driving pins into his flesh, as though to punish the sight that could not see. Thebes mourns, yet also sighs in relief, for the curse has been named, the cycle laid bare. Oedipus leaves, exiled from the city he once saved, his steps slow and heavy. You walk with him, along dusty roads, through valleys where the wind whispers of destiny. He leans upon his daughter Antigone, his faithful guide, who leads him gently through the world he no longer sees. At Colonus, outside Athens, his journey ends. He becomes less man, more myth, fading into the realm where mortals and gods blur. Some say the earth swallowed him, others that the gods themselves carried him away. What remains is not the man, but the echo of his story. A tale of pride and blindness, of curses inherited, of fate unyielding. And Thebes endures, carrying scars deeper than stone. Its streets remember Oedipus, saviour and ruin both, a man who tried to run from prophecy, yet ran straight into its arms. You stand once more at the gates, the air heavy, the silence thick. The tragedy lingers like mist, inescapable, haunting, a reminder that in the world of myth, destiny is as real as breath, and no step taken can ever escape its shadow. The story begins not with swords or shields, but with a single apple. You drift into the halls of the gods, where laughter and light fill the air, until Eris, goddess of strife, enters with a gift. She tosses a golden apple inscribed with 3 words, "For the fairest." It rolls across the floor, gleaming, and 3 hands reach for it, Hera's, Athena's, and Aphrodite's. None will surrender. The dispute grows, sharp and proud, until it is brought to a mortal to decide. You find yourself in the highlands of Mount Ida, where Paris, Prince of Troy, tends his flocks in peace. The 3 goddesses stand before him, their beauty radiant, their promises sharp as daggers. Hera offers power, Athena promises wisdom and victory. Aphrodite whispers of love, the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Sparta. Paris, dazzled, places the apple in Aphrodite's hand, a choice made in a heartbeat, but one that will burn for years to come. From Sparta to Troy, threads tighten. Helen, wife of Menelaus, is swept away. Some say willing, some say not, and carried across the sea. Menelaus rages, his pride shattered, his household dishonored. He calls upon his brother Agamemnon, and together they summon the princes of Greece. Ships gather, black sails blotting the horizon, 1,000 vessels bound for Troy. You stand on the shore as the fleet departs, the sound of oars like thunder, the air heavy with destiny. Among the warriors, you see familiar faces. Achilles, son of Thetis, swift-footed, fierce, his armor bright as flame. Odysseus, clever and wary, his mind sharper than any blade. Ajax, vast and unyielding, his shadow towering. Each hero carries a different light, each bound to a story that will not end well. The journey is long, the war longer still. 10 years stretch before you. A cycle of hope and despair, of assaults against Troy's walls and feasts in the Greek camp. The Trojans, too, are proud, strong behind their towers. Priam, aged and wise, rules with sorrow heavy in his heart. Hector, his son, stands as Troy's shield, noble and steadfast, a warrior of honor. Paris, whose choice began it all, fights too, though his courage wavers. And Helen, the cause of it all, walks the halls of Troy, her beauty a curse, her gaze heavy with longing and regret. You step into the rhythm of war, the clang of bronze, the dust rising, the cries of men falling. Spears splinter, chariots wheel, shields shiver under blows. The gods themselves descend, their hands upon the battle. Athena guides spears, Apollo bends arrows, Hera stirs rage, Aphrodite shields Paris from harm. The war is more than mortal, it is a theatre where divine rivalries play out, every clash echoing in the heavens. Yet the heart of the war lies in wrath, in the pride of men. Achilles, greatest of the Greeks, grows furious when Agamemnon dishonors him, seizing a prize meant for him. His anger burns and he withdraws, refusing to fight. Without him, the Greeks falter, pressed back against their ships, fire licking their hulls. Still Achilles sits apart, his heart storming, his mother Thetis whispering comfort. yet unable to turn fate aside. Then comes the moment that shifts all. Patroclus, dear companion of Achilles, dons his armor, shining like the hero himself. He leads the Greeks with courage, driving the Trojans back. But Hector meets him, and the clash is brutal. The dust rises, the spears flash, and Patroclus falls beneath Hector's hand. His spirit slips away, leaving silence in its wake. When word reaches Achilles, the air itself seems to tremble. His grief is bottomless, his rage boundless. He returns to the field, no longer withholding, but burning like a star at its end. You watch as he drives forward, slaughtering in his fury, cutting down men like stalks of wheat. The river itself rises against him, choked with the dead, and still he rages on. At last, he faces Hector. The Prince of Troy stands steady, though he knows what is coming. Around the walls of the city they run 3 times, until Athena deceives Hector, making him think an ally stands with him. The duel begins, swift and fierce, but fate is sealed. Achilles drives his spear, and Hector falls, his breath fading into the dust. The cries of Troy rise behind the walls, mourning their greatest son. Achilles, blinded by wrath, dishonors the body, dragging it behind his chariot. The act is cruel, and yet even in the darkness, a spark of humanity remains. For Priam, old and weary, slips into the Greek camp by night. He kneels before Achilles, kissing the hand that killed his son, begging for the body's return. The sight breaks something in Achilles, and for a moment, grief softens wrath. He agrees, and the two sit together, sharing sorrow as men rather than enemies. The war does not end here. It winds on, years folding into years. At last, cunning and trickery bring it to a close. The Greeks build a horse, vast and hollow, a gift to the Trojans who believe the enemy has sailed away. The horse is brought within the walls, a symbol of victory, but inside, hidden in the dark, wait Greek warriors. That night, the gates are opened, and fire spreads like a curse. Troy falls, its towers crumbling, its people slaughtered or enslaved. Priam dies upon the altar, his blood mingling with ashes. Cassandra, cursed to prophesy yet never believed, screams as her visions unfold. Aeneas, carrying his father upon his back, slips into exile, bound for distant shores. And Helen, some say she is reclaimed by Menelaus, her beauty untouched, her fate as uncertain as ever. You stand among the ruins, smoke curling into the dawn, the war's end heavy and hollow. 10 years of struggle, of pride, of prophecy, all collapsing into flame. The gods retreat to their heavens, their games played out, while mortals wander broken through the wreckage. The Trojan War lingers not only in memory but in the very air, a tale of wrath and ruin, of love twisted into curse, of pride that could not bend. You walk slowly through its echoes, each step carrying you further into silence. The dust settles, the sea calms, but the story never truly ends. It waits, alive in the telling, in the whisper of waves against the shore. The fires of Troy still smolder in your memory, but the sea wind carries you away. You drift alongside the ships of the Greeks as they scatter, each bound for its own uncertain fate. Among them sails Odysseus, king of Ithaca, his heart heavy with longing for his home, for Penelope's quiet patience, for the laughter of his son, Telemachus. He believes the journey will be brief, a crossing of the wine-dark sea. Yet the gods have other designs. You drift above the waves as the ships rise and fall, the sails swelling with wind, the timbers creaking. The horizon stretches endlessly, yet Ithaca does not appear. Storms brew, cruel and sudden, scattering men and masts, dragging them far from the straight path. Zeus stirs the clouds, Poseidon lashes the waters, for the sea god carries a grudge against Odysseus. The journey becomes not a voyage but a trial, a weaving of hardship and wonder that lasts for years. The first stop seems almost like a gift. The lotus eaters, gentle and dreamy, offer sweet fruit that erases longing and makes one forget home. You stand in the sunlight as Odysseus's men taste it, their eyes clouding with forgetfulness, their hearts unmoored. They wish to stay, to drift in that haze forever. But Odysseus pulls them back, binds them if he must, reminding them of Ithaca, of the life that waits. The ships push on, the fruit's sweetness fading behind. Farther along the shore, cliffs rise sharp, and you hear the sound of grinding stone. Here dwells the Cyclops Polyphemus, massive and cruel, his single eye glaring like a lantern. You enter his cave with Odysseus, the air thick with the smell of sheep and smoke. At first, there is hope of hospitality, but it turns quickly to horror. Polyphemus seizes men in his great hands, devouring them as one might a feast. The cries echo against the rock. Odysseus's mind does not falter. You feel his cunning spark in the shadows as he offers wine to the Cyclops, rich and heady. The giant drinks deeply, his eyelid heavy, his voice slurred. When he asks the stranger's name, Odysseus answers, "Nobody." And so, when the sharpened stake is driven into that monstrous eye, Polyphemus roars in agony, calling for help. Yet when asked who harms him, he can only reply, "Nobody." The trick spares them, and beneath the bellies of sheep, they slip away. Still, Odysseus's pride flares, and as they sail, he calls his true name across the water. That single boast seals his curse, for Poseidon hears it, and his wrath deepens. The sea grows cruel again, waves hurling the ship from shore to shore. Aeolus, keeper of the winds, once gifts Odysseus a bag of storms tied tight, a safe passage promised. But curiosity and mistrust undo it. His men, believing treasure lies within, open it, and the winds roar out, flinging them far from Ithaca's reach. Hope collapses once more into endless wandering. You drift with him into darker waters where sorcery lies in wait. Circe, the enchantress, welcomes them with feasts, her halls filled with music and shining cups. But her touch transforms men into swine, their eyes pleading from animal forms. Odysseus, armed with Hermes' herb, resists her spell. For a year he lingers, bound in her embrace, tasting both tenderness and danger, until the call of home grows louder than comfort. She guides him on, speaking of paths that wind through death itself. You follow him as he descends into the underworld, a shadow among shadows. The air is still, the silence deep. Shades rise from the earth, souls of heroes long gone, faces once proud, now pale with longing. Odysseus speaks with Tiresias, the blind prophet, who warns of trials yet to come, of cattle sacred to Helios, of restraint that must be held. He speaks with his mother, her form like smoke, and sorrow presses on him. He learns of the fates of others, of Achilles who would trade glory for a single quiet day, alive. The dead whisper endlessly, but at last he pulls himself back to the living, bearing their warnings in his heart. Now the seas turn strange again. You hear it first, soft as a distant flute, the voices of the sirens. Sweet beyond measure, their song curls through the air, promising secrets, joy, an end to wandering. The crew binds Odysseus to the mast, his ears open while theirs are sealed with wax. You float above as the ship drifts past, the voices rising like waves of honey, promising all he longs for. He strains against the ropes, desperate to follow, but the ship carries on, leaving their music fading into silence. Beyond, lie Scylla and Charybdis, horror on either side. One, a monster with snapping jaws, devours men whole. The other, a whirlpool that swallows ships into nothing. You feel the terror ripple through the crew as they row, every stroke a prayer. Scylla strikes, dragging men screaming into the deep, but the ship survives, slipping past Charybdis's hunger. The cost is great, but they endure. Yet prophecy does not loosen its grip. On the island of Helios, the sun god's cattle graze in golden fields, untouchable, forbidden. Hunger gnaws at the men, their bellies hollow, their fear overcome by need. While Odysseus sleeps, they slaughter the sacred herd. When the ships leave, the punishment comes swift. A storm shatters mast and hull, drowning every man but one. Odysseus alone clings to a fragment of wood, cast adrift upon the vast and merciless sea. He drifts to Ogygia, the island of Calypso, a nymph of immortal beauty. Her caves are soft with moss, her voice soothing, her love possessive. For 7 years she holds him, offering eternity at her side. Yet even in comfort, his heart aches for home, for Penelope's quiet strength, for the mortal life he longs to reclaim. At last, the gods relent, and Hermes brings word that he must be released. Odysseus builds a raft, his hope fragile as it rides the waves. Still, Poseidon does not forgive. Storms rise once more, smashing the raft, casting him naked upon the shore of the Phaeacians. Here, kindness greets him at last. He is fed, clothed, and asked to tell his story. His words flow like a river, recounting every trial, every marvel, every sorrow. And in return, the Phaeacians carry him home, their ships swift and silent, until at last Ithaca rises from the mist. You stand beside him as he touches his homeland soil, the earth cool beneath his fingers. But even here, peace does not come at once. Suitors crowd his halls, greedy for Penelope's hand, feasting on his stores, mocking his name. Disguised as a beggar, Odysseus enters quietly, testing loyalty, weighing truth. Penelope waits, her heart steady, her cunning equal to his. She speaks of a contest, the bow of Odysseus, strung only by the true king. One by one the suitors fail, their hands trembling, their strength lacking. Then Odysseus, still cloaked in rags, steps forward. The bow bends easily in his hands, the arrow flies true, and in that moment he casts aside disguise. The hall becomes a storm of vengeance, arrows striking, suitors falling, justice carved into the night. At last, quiet returns. Penelope, cautious, tests him with secret knowledge. A bed carved from a living tree, unmoved and unmovable. When Odysseus answers, truth spills between them, and the years of separation dissolve. Their embrace is not the ecstasy of youth, but the deep, enduring peace of return. You linger in that silence, in the warmth of hearth and home, in the long journey's end. The seas grow calm behind you. The monsters fade. The voices of the dead grow still. Only Ithaca remains, steady as stone, a haven after storms. And so you drift into rest, the story of Odysseus closing like a lullaby, his trials like distant waves, his homecoming like the first soft light of dawn. The stories have carried you through storms and underworlds, through palaces of gods and the simple huts of mortals touched by greatness. Now, as the night deepens, you sit not in some ancient temple or echoing hall, but at a quiet table of your own. A small lamp glows nearby. The hum of the present fills the air. Cars in the distance, the sigh of a radiator, the gentle tap of branches against a window. Yet if you listen closely, you can still hear them. The voices of gods, the whispers of heroes, the songs of poets who first shaped these myths under an open sky. You reach for a book on a shelf, its spine worn, its pages heavy with names you now know. Inside are echoes of chaos, of Gaia, of the Titans and Olympians. Though millennia separate you from those who first told these tales, their pulse still beats within the words. You feel it in the rhythm of language itself. Phrases like Achilles' heel, Pandora's box, Herculean task. Without realizing it, you've been speaking their stories all along. Around you, the world still carries the marks of these myths. Statues rise in cities carved in stone that outlives generations, their marble faces serene and watchful. You may pass them without noticing, yet they are fragments of Olympus still looking down. Paintings hang in quiet galleries, Zeus hurling lightning, Aphrodite rising from the sea, Orpheus glancing back at Eurydice. Artists centuries later felt the same pull as the bards of old, drawn to figures larger than life, to dramas that echo the human heart. In theatres, too, the legacy lingers. You imagine sitting in an ancient amphitheatre, the stone seats cold beneath you, as actors masked in tragic faces cry out the sorrows of Oedipus or the grief of Electra. The plays have never truly faded. They reappear in new guises, in novels, in films, in stories retold for new audiences. Every tragedy where fate tightens its grip, every epic of struggle against impossible odds, carries the pattern of Greek myth beneath its skin. Even in quiet libraries, the myths sleep, waiting. Homer's Iliad and Odyssey lie beside Hesiod's Theogony, beside fragments of plays chipped by time. Scholars pore over them, students underline their verses, translators wrestle with the music of the words. Yet the myths are not locked in those pages. They slip free into everyday life, weaving through jokes, metaphors, even casual sayings. To call someone a narcissist is to remember Narcissus gazing into water. To speak of a tantalizing sight recalls Tantalus reaching for fruit forever out of reach. The ancient world lingers invisibly in each syllable. You picture a child hearing these tales for the first time, their eyes wide as they imagine gods on mountains, monsters in caves, heroes setting sail. The myths still work their ancient magic. They make the world feel larger, filled with wonder and danger, with the possibility that behind every hill lies another story waiting to be found. The table before you seems ordinary, plain wood, a cup, a folded cloth. But as you rest your hands on it, you sense how even this scene is touched by myth. The very idea of gathering for stories, of sharing bread and drink while a tale unspools, is as old as the fire circles of ancient Greece. The bards once carried these myths not in books but in memory, letting them ripple through the night air just as your breath now stirs the silence. The gods themselves, for all their thunder and splendor, were mirrors of human life. Zeus's authority, Hera's jealousy, Poseidon's storms, Athena's wisdom, all are pieces of human nature made vast and eternal. In them people once saw themselves magnified, their passions written across the sky. That mirror still reflects today. You see echoes of Zeus in rulers who grasp for power, echoes of Hera in loyalty tested by betrayal, echoes of Aphrodite in every fleeting spark of desire. The myths were never just about the gods, they were about what it means to be human. Think of how often modern tales return to these patterns. Superheroes, star voyagers, chosen ones with impossible burdens, all walk in the footsteps of Perseus, Heracles and Odysseus. Even in galaxies far away, the bones of the Greek stories remain, the call to adventure, the trials, the return home. You are never far from Olympus, even when you believe you've left it behind. As you lean back, you realize that mythology is not only memory, but presence. It has shaped how we think, how we dream, how we tell stories. When you speak of chaos, you echo the void from which all sprang. When you name the planets Mars, Venus, or Jupiter, you honor gods renamed but not forgotten. Each night sky holds those names like constellations, familiar yet ancient, symbols etched on both stars and tongues. The myths remind you of fragility too. Achilles, strongest of warriors, undone by a single heel. Icarus, soaring high, only to fall. Prometheus, punished for defiance, yet gifting hope. These are not just tales of glory, but of limits, of the dangers of pride, of the endurance of suffering. They whisper gently that every triumph carries risk, every gift its shadow, every light its dark. And still there is comfort. When Odysseus returns home, when Persephone rises with the spring, when dawn follows night, the myths promise renewal. Even sorrow finds its place in the cycle, woven into a larger pattern. As you sit in the quiet now, you feel that rhythm beneath your own life, an unseen thread that ties you to storytellers who lived thousands of years before. The lamp beside you glows softly, its light a small flame in the dark. You imagine Prometheus's fire burning still, not in hearths alone, but in every human act of imagination, every story told to chase back the night. The myths are not gone. They live in every retelling, in every dream shaped by their echoes. They are part of you now, as much as they were part of those who once gathered on Greek hillsides under the stars. Your breath slows. The table feels steady beneath your hands. The voices of gods and heroes grow distant, fading like waves against a far shore. Yet their presence lingers, not loud but quiet, like a hum beneath the silence. They will not vanish, not while stories are told, not while words are spoken, not while anyone listens in the dark. So you close your eyes, carrying with you the legacy of Greek myth, not as a burden, but as a gentle thread woven through language, art, memory, and the stories we still tell. From chaos to Olympus, from war to homecoming, from tragedy to hope, it all comes to rest here, in the stillness of your own night. And as you drift towards sleep, you realize the myths never truly end. They breathe wherever stories are spoken, wherever hearts ache, wherever dreams reach beyond the horizon. They are not relics, but companions, waiting quietly beside you, like the steady glow of that small lamp in the dark.